Prabhupada ki
Jai.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. That's it.
So many zips. Now check this out. And I can pop it on. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Okay, so we're going to speak about the glories of devotional service. So that's a wide spectrum. So I'll read the verse from the Bhagavad Gita. I say, what is real devotional service? We'll start like that. What is devotional service? And so real devotional service is described in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Now to obtain it's also described. It's in the third canto, 25th chapter. translation. It says here, in the association of pure devotees, discussion of the pastimes and activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is very pleasing and satisfying to the ear and to the heart. By cultivating such knowledge, one gradually becomes advanced on the path of liberation, and thereafter he is freed and his attention becomes fixed. Then real devotional service and real devotion begin. So, what are we doing? Is it real? So, it's all real, Bhakti. There has to be some effort to go in the right way, the right direction, right? We can go in the wrong direction or the right direction. So when we decide to follow the instructions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead to some degree, that's Bhakti. It means we're no longer actually following our own desires, but we're willing to give up our desires to some degree to follow the desires of the Supreme Lord. And so it's explained that we can have knowledge, jnana, we can have renunciation, but unless there's a little bit of bhakti, then they won't work. If we analyse it, that's a fact, isn't it? The words of the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the Vedas, they like to say His breathing, they're coming from the Lord. So by following them, we're going to have a little bit of bhakti. So any other knowledge outside of that, which is not coming from the Vedas, or any other renunciation which is not included in the Vedas, it's a complete waste of time. Yashastra vidimushricha varjate kamakarata nasasiri bhavatmati nasukam naparam. Nasasiri means there's no perfection. Nasukam, there's no satisfaction. Paramgatim, we won't achieve the supreme goal. So, if we decide to follow instructions laid down by authorities in the Vedas, immediately there's some bhakti there. Yeah? So that's what it means. But sometimes we think we're following the path of jnana. Where's the bhakti? You know, we're impersonalists. But you know, Ramati, Paramatmati, Bhagavanti Shabdite, it's not impersonal so much as we think. It's just a limited understanding of the absolute truth. So I think we can understand by what we've just said that Bhakti is a huge spectrum. But to come to the so let's just where to start here. So we follow the path of Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Sadhana means activities to obtain a goal. What is your sadhana? What do you do?
Chanting.
Hey?
For work every day. Maintenance. Occupation. What are you working?
Yeah, I done my master's Maharaj now.
A market man.
Masters.
He completed his master's degrees.
So what are you going to do?
I'm trying to now applying jobs.
I'll obtain a job. So your master's degree is like sadhana. You won't get a good job or a job in that line unless you've got some qualification, right?
Yeah.
So sadhana means you've been doing sadhana to obtain a certain thing. So it's the same in devotional circles. Sadhana means that we follow a particular process in order to obtain a goal. And that goal that the devotees are trying to obtain is Bhakti, prema Bhakti. That's the ultimate goal. So there are different levels of Bhakti. I spoke about a little bit about it yesterday, I think, didn't I? About the yoga ladders, right? You know, just yesterday. Now you are the yoga ladder. I'm going to show it if we had a screen.
We had a screen before.
Have you got it?
And we can do it wirelessly also.
Do it by remote camera.
I can, if you have got it, then I can put it on this screen. So,
You're going to do it by remote.
yeah, we can do it wirelessly also. I can send it to myself also and put it from my screen.
Okay, I'll carry on talking while
Yeah.
while you're doing that. Just let me
Yeah.
just get my bearings so I can start speaking. Okay. So we're going to do the yoga ladders in a little while. We should have done them first, but so we're on the path of. So where does Bhakti come from? We spoke about that bit yesterday, didn't we? And in the Madhurya Kadambini there's a big discussion about this. It says, Raso Vaisa, that Krishna is a reservoir of all tastes, of all rasas. So everything comes from him. So it seems like, okay. So Krishna is a reservoir of all rasas. Well, we'll go on to this now, we're on this, everybody's distracted. So on the left hand side is the express elevator, Bhakti Yoga. Okay? Middle one is the intermediate one, variation of Yoga ladder. And the last one is the extended Yoga ladder. And so we talked about everybody in Kali Yuga, more or less animal life, eating, sleeping, working, sex life, recreation. And no more than that, so that's called animal life. Human life means we start to inquire about the nature of and the origin of our existence, why we're here. This is a human being. Karma Kanda means that, so when we get a little bit of knowledge, we understand that, you know, human, just like we go to school, we can't just go around. Human life's meant for regulated activities. And by performing those regulated activities, we can enjoy. But it's just to be regulated. Just like when I think I gave the example when I was younger, you know, the parents regulate you. Otherwise you could crack it, you just like, you know, you wouldn't be able to control your senses. But they said, no, you can't have that. You have to do this. So this is regulation that even starts from the parents. So human life is meant for regulation. And so when we follow the Karma Kanda, we follow the Shastra to obtain sense gratification. If you want this, then you have to do it this way. If you want this, you have to do it that way. And this stops us from becoming degraded, from just trying to enjoy the senses without any restriction. So eventually we realise that, wait a minute, I'm still not satisfied. And most people come to that conclusion. So then we think about, well, there must be something else, and we start to read books and associate with devotees, speculate, and we start to understand that there's actually a higher purpose to life. There must be something else we start to think. So when we think like that, Krishna's in the heart, and he starts to guide us. So then we come to the point of connecting with our spiritual nature, yeah? We're not the body, we're the soul. So it's called Sakam Karma Yoga. Sa, we're full of desires. But, and we want to enjoy the karma. But we're going to link them, yoga. We're not going to just so we follow Shastra in order to, we give up some of the results for a higher cause. With either a Bhakti or an impersonalist at this point. If we've met a devotee, we're on the Bhakti cause. If we're not, then we're on the path of renouncing, that's all. And when we renounce things, then we renounce, become controlled, and we get intelligent. And then this doesn't work either. I'm still not satisfied. So we start to become more renounced until eventually we don't want anything for ourselves. We just want to make spiritual advancement. So this is called Nishkam Karma Yoga. And then we're still lacking in knowledge. So then we start to read and develop knowledge. We may have a spiritual master, either an impersonalist or a personalist. And we develop Gyan. Then, usually most people, they come in contact with an impersonalist. And so with that Gyan, they start to realise that not just renunciation, but we have to meditate on a goal that we're trying to achieve. We can't actually give up things if we don't know, if we haven't got a higher goal. So then there comes a point of Ashtanga Yoga. And this is a long process. If you read the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, it's so involving. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. What do you do when you perform yoga, Ashtanga Yoga? First thing is you have to make a nice seat, like in the middle of Newcastle. And we have to go to a quiet place. You're not finding quiet places. But anyway, you find one, and then you sit on the seat. And so first one is asana. This is a sitting posture. You have to sit in a certain posture so that airs in the body flow. And then we start to, when the airs in the body are flowing nicely, this is called pranayama. And then what comes from pranayama is asana, pranayama, and dharana. Then we have to control the senses, bring them in and focus on one point. And then pratyahara, control the senses, pratyahara, then focus. Then when we're focused, dhyana, meditation on that goal. And so most yogis, they don't even get to that point. They get mystic siddhis due to controlling their senses, and that's it. But if we're a little bit more serious, we'll start to appreciate the super soul in the heart. And we may misidentify the super soul with ourselves. So at this point, we need at this point we definitely need the association of a devotee. And he can then, at the top of the ladder is Bhakti Yoga. If we're fortunate, we get it. So, a lot of ifs that, we may not make it. And it takes many births. In the middle, the ladder is the same. We come to Nishkam Karma Yoga. If we get the association of a devotee then we can actually take them to sadhana bhakti. We don't have to practice Ashtanga Yoga. And then finally, the left-hand side one is our path. So animal life, we meet, two-legged animal meets a spiritual master. That's what's happening, isn't it? And Lord Chaitanya is very merciful. And then, just by following his instructions, we can actually immediately, we can immediately understand the goal, and we can immediately make process. So this is where Bhakti begins for us, real Bhakti. And what's the definition of sadhana Bhakti? What's the definition? I forgot. It is following Shastra and the spiritual master.
I was just going to say following like the rules and regulations of devotional service as if by force, you know?
Yeah, we're following the principles of devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master and in conjunction with the Vedic scriptures, with the Shastra. So that means we're not naturally devotees, are we? We're trying to be devotees. We're going through the boot camp. You know, when you join the army, you join the boot camp. You know what the boot camp is? You have to keep your front boots black. You know, every morning the sergeant's looking up and down, you know. So you've got to keep everything just right. What the cigarette packet, turnips, and you know, you can see your face in the boots. Not hair not too long, cap on, everything immaculate. You know, boots. Very strict training, so that's what we're going through now. And by that, it becomes natural to follow the orders of the sergeant or whoever's in charge. And then this is what's needed in the army, immediately we do as we're told. And then when we get trained up, we're naturally a soldier, right? We don't have to think about it like before. So this is a process of devotional service. We come to that point where it's what we call spontaneous. It takes quite a while to come to that problem, but we're spontaneously attracted to Krishna. So that means it comes from the heart, and the heart gets purified, then that natural inclination to serve Krishna awakens. So this is the beginning of real devotional service. It's not rules and regulations, it's coming from God. And then first of all is, and what is that process? It's it's described in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the second chapter of the first canto. Shushushoshta Vidanasya Vasudeva Gasarushi Shammahatse Vyadhika Punyashta Tirthamashevana. By serving an elevated devotee, then we become purified. We get a taste for wanting to know more. We get a taste for hearing Shastra. And with that mentality of wanting to hear Krishna's praise, it starts to cleanse the heart. Vijanoti Surit Satam. He cleanses the heart of the serious Satan, the serious devotee. And if that's done regularly, then all the attraction in the heart are purified away. Almost. What's that regularly? Nasta. Veshu, Abhadreshu. Nityam Bhagavati. Bhagavati Tamasokya Bhakti Vasanasati. What's that? Why not all? Why not all? Why not all?
It's because Krishna always leaves us independence to do what we want to do, so there's always that chance that you can, and it says almost destroy it to nil.
So he leaves a bit of dirt there.
Sorry?
He leaves a bit of dirt there.
Yeah.
I mean, that independence is always there, right? But what it is, we have a material body. And while we have a material body, we're in the material world, the modes of nature are going to actually affect us. His tendency is going to be there. Even when we're, on that platform, we still have stimulus around us, which we can actually be attracted by or repelled. So, but the inclination's gone. What's it saying in Bhagavad Gita? Second chapter, it says, desires may come like rivers into the ocean, we're actually, we're not inclined to enjoy them. They may be attractive, but we think, I've been there before. I don't want to go there again. The inclination's not there. So that's the little bit that's left. And then in the next verse says that Tamo Raja Tama Bhava, all the inauspicious, low modes, we come out of the low modes into the mode of goodness. And it says that when we're in the mode of goodness, we become completely happy. So the last verse is all the dirt's gone. It's where what's it called? Nishta, we're fixed. And now in this verse, Ruchi, we get a taste, strong taste. And then from that strong taste comes the next point. All from this section up becomes the next verse is Evam Prasanna Manasvara. The mind becomes enlivened in devotional service. We enjoy devotional service. Bhagavat Bhakti Yoga by this process of Bhagavat Bhakti. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam. We realise the absolute truth, Vijnanam. And then Mukta Sandasvijaya. We become victory, Jayate. Mukta, we become liberated. Prema. So very quickly in that verse it's talking about coming from, a Shakti, attachment to the service, then attachment to Krishna, and then attachment leads to Raga. This is Bhava Bhakti. Ragatmika Bhakti they call it. So when we get to that stage, we become Raganuga Bhaktas. We've got a taste and we've got a desire to serve Krishna in a certain way. So then we follow a Raga Bhakta, Ragatmika Bhakta. Who's our Ragatmika Bhakta? Who's yours? We've all got the same one, haven't we?
Radharani.
Eh?
Radharani.
Radharani. Well, I suppose so. I mean, if you're connected with Radharani, but it may not be so connected.
Srila Prabhupada?
Prabhupada. It's Lord Chaitanya, actually. Prabhupada is a Ragatmika Bhakta, but Lord Chaitanya taught us the process in Chinti Veda Tattva. He showed exactly how to be a devotee. But we follow Lord Chaitanya, and we follow Lord Chaitanya through his representatives. The disciplic succession from Lord Chaitanya. And that culminates in Srila Prabhupada. And so we should just follow Prabhupada, don't go looking around where Ragatmika Bhakti, Because we get confused reading Shastra that there's, different. This is why it's important to stay in ISKCON. We go to different mats and they have a different vision. In the Gaudiya mat, some of the parts of the Gaudiya mat, they meditate on Astakaliya Leela. Asta. So this means Asta means the eight things that Krishna does in the day. What he's doing at each junction of the day, meditating on that. But that will come naturally if we follow Prabhupada. So on the platform of Ragatmika Bhakta, how can you tell who's a Ragatmika Bhakta? He said in Bhagavad Gita, how does he walk, right? How does he sit? What is his language? You wouldn't be able to tell. That's it, unless you're a Ragatmika Bhakta yourself, you wouldn't be able to tell. Because externally, he just carries on doing, menial service like everybody else. But internally, he's becoming purified and he's developing his relationship in that mode. So if you see any flamboyant, exhibitions of Ragatmika Bhakti, or Ragatmika Bhakti, forget it then. gods at Jagannath Puri, when Lord Chaitanya, he went into the temple and he became so filled with ecstasy, he just collapsed on the floor. And the gods, they were ready to beat him because there's so many sahajas, so many prakrita sahajas, materialistic devotees. They even mistook that Lord Chaitanya was actually imitating. So they couldn't understand. But that's the one thing we can understand. We won't understand until we get to that platform. So just respect everybody. The mood is everybody is better than me. Okay, I'm just getting a bit of background about, Bhakti. See if there's any more. This is all on the Bhakti Shastri, by the way. So, definition of Ragatmika Bhakti. When one becomes attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, according to one's natural inclination to love Him, and is fully absorbed in thoughts of the Lord, that state is called transcendental attachment. And devotional service according to that attachment is called Ragatmika, or spontaneous devotional service. Okay. So we've done all the hard work, all the philosophy. Not all of it, but enough. In the fact that verse yesterday we were quoting 4:10, that's got a verse which mentions Shraddha Prema. That's the whole process. It's the development of faith. And when we have full faith, then we only know that we have to surrender to Krishna. We only have to serve Krishna without any ulterior motives. And then what does Krishna do? He takes full care of the devotee. He's doing that anyway. He's doing that anyway, but we don't realise it. Maya means that we think we're doing it. But we have to gradually get rid of that attachment. Gradually get rid of that misconception. And then what we do? We give it all up, right? No, we do it in a different mood. We do it as a service. We do it in full remembrance that Krishna is a super sanctioner. If the result's there, it's His mercy. If it's not, it's His mercy. This is a platform of peace. Bhaktaram Yogi Tapasam. You know this verse? Sarvalokameshwaram. Suridam Sarvabhutanam. That is a friend in the heart. And when we're convinced about that, then we're actually we're well situated in devotional service. Okay. Any questions on how we come to devotional service and the actual process of developing Bhakti? Have you done the Bhakti Shastri?
No?
So we still do a lot of it in ordinary classes anyway. But it's very good to do. Keep going through it.
I was going to say, this is maybe more of a little bit further along, but it's said in the Shastra that you can only get Bhakti from, the Bhakti itself is causeless.
Yeah.
And that you can only get it from someone who has Bhakti.
Yeah.
But there's nothing you can do to, but it does seem that sometimes, I don't know, maybe people that are more pious or something, they may be more inclined towards devotional service. So it seems like in one sense there is a qualification for devotional service, but we understand from the Shastra that there isn't, that Bhakti is causeless.
desire to have it,
Lording.
isn't it? Well, that's what the price is. So I said earlier, Brahmanda Brahmate Bhagavandi Guru Krishna Prasade Paye Bhakti Latavij, that Krishna is witnessing our, our thoughts and our desires, and he's reciprocating with that. But still, Bhakti comes from Bhakti. It's like I was saying the other day that he's equal to everybody. Well, when it here, where we're doing that verse,
I don't know.
that Krishna is equal to everybody. When we answer,
Oh yeah, you were, yeah, from the Synodics and Parents' Day.
yeah, why do some people suffer and some people don't? But it's just reciprocating in kind. It's not what they call, what's the word? It's not
Reciprocal. Reciprocal?
no,
Favouritism. It's not favouritism.
partial, that's it. It's not partial. Partial means you favour somebody more than somebody else. But does Krishna do that? He never does that. If he gives you everybody, this drum spot, and he gives them all an opportunity to take up Bhakti, some take it and some don't. Okay? So, if it reciprocates with those who take it, is that partiality? Is it? No, it's just reciprocating. And where those who don't take it, they want something else, they'll reciprocate with that. So it's not partiality. He's impartial. But you can say he becomes partial, if you want, to those who reciprocate with him. Partial in the material sense, that he seems to favour them more, but he's not favouring them more. He's favouring everybody because he wants everybody to become a devotee. But because, they're these particular candidates, they'll just reciprocate with their sincere desire to approach him. So it's complete. Yeah. And about Bhakti coming to Bhakti, this is argued in the Madhuri Kadambini, and it says that Yadrikscha, this is a word used in the 11th canto, that means causeless. It doesn't have any cause. It says Bhakti is causeless. And so people may misunderstand that as favourite, still we have to perform sadhana, right? It's what we do. But that means that it's not causeless anymore. It's got a material cause. It's what we do, right? It's the things we do. So we're just talking about that. Bear with me, it's not easy. It's literally, then we might say that, well, if it's not anything material we do, it must be, Krishna's the source of everything. It must come from Krishna. So that's right in one respect, everything comes from Krishna. But that would make Krishna partial, wouldn't it? Otherwise, we can say that, you're walking down the street in Newcastle and suddenly Prema Bhakti descends and you start rolling on the floor, in ecstasy. I mean, you do see that, but it's not Prema Bhakti, it's someone else. So that runs out. It seems like a certain class of people have it, so it seems to suggest if Krishna does, that that Krishna's not doing that. He seems to favour a certain class of people. So then it says that point I just made is that he reciprocates with those. But how did he start to get Bhakti in the first place? It must have a cause, right? It's still a separate cause, but then it starts talking about the devotee, and particularly the preacher, the Madhyamadikari. He seems to pick and choose, right? I'm not approaching that one, he's a demon. I'll approach this one, or I'll reciprocate with this one. So that's partiality, isn't it? But it's it's not, it's like Krishna. He's doing exactly the same as Krishna. Pure devotees thinking, if I approach him, he'll just become really angry, and he'll become more inimical. So he's reciprocating in kind. He says, but he can't give Bhakti unless he's got Bhakti in his heart. You see, some devotees, they want to get out there and preach, right? And some devotees don't. So why? It depends on the nature of the individual, but ultimately, they're not impelled to do it. So he says that the Bhakti in the heart is impelling people to actually want to give it to others. So it's not coming from them, it's coming from the Bhakti. Because the Bhakti is there, they're actually inspired. Yeah. That makes sense.
So in that sense then, because I was, like when you say you can't give something if you don't have it, you could say, well, if you're going out to distribute Prabhupada's books...
We don't distribute, yeah.
No, you say if you're going out to distribute Prabhupada's books, if you give someone Prabhupada's books, then there's Bhakti. Prabhupada's Bhakti is within his books. So you could say, well, I'm just giving out a book, but it sounds like what you're saying is, for someone to give out a book, they must have some Bhakti, otherwise they wouldn't be giving it out.
I didn't exactly say, if I actually said that, we have different natures as well.
Yeah, no, because I'm just thinking then you could say you could give Bhakti without having it. Someone can give someone a book and not have any Bhakti, but they're giving Prabhupada, who is,
No, there must be some Bhakti there.
right.
People who haven't got it, they won't even touch the book.
Yeah,
They're not going to give the book out.
right.
So the person must have some devotion. He doesn't really want to give that because he's flying to death, But he does it.
Yeah.
So, in that respect, and then, but where does Krishna come in? Ultimately, when there's a desire in the devotee to distribute a book or give, due to the Bhakti which is inspiring him, Krishna gives his Kripa Shakti, gives his mercy, so that he can do it. But it's coming from, originally it's coming from the devotee's Bhakti, and Krishna is actually sanctioning it, because the devotee is acting on that. Does that make sense? It's not so easy to digest. We're pretty dim, aren't we? In the Kali Yuga, we're not very enlightened. Okay, we've got that one. So we've sorted that one. It's supposed to come on when it sees your face. Okay. So everybody's, we're all on the same page now. So,
It's just pen.
we've got some time left, and I was going to start about how do we know who's a devotee? How do we know who's a devotee?
Characteristics.
Characteristics.
Doesn't Lord Chaitanya say that someone that's chanted the holy name even once, his person is to be considered a devotee?
Yeah. And then he came up a year later and he said something else. Didn't he? He improved on it. Then he eventually said, somebody who, when they see him, they chant Hare Krishna. So we've got a lot of pure devotees in the movement. Somebody put this lot on. Hare Hare Hare. So yeah, that's true. I was thinking about we may not understand who is in devotional service, who's a pure devotee, and who's a neophyte in the early stages, because we seem to be all doing the same things, right? bit self-controlled, you know. In the beginning, I remember one devotee was telling me, he said that you were a Prabhupada disciple, so when you first joined, you were in the kitchen, and you know, one devotee were actually getting on his nerves. I don't know what it was, but he picked up a bucket of water and shook it over him. So, I mean, when you see something like that, it makes you think, maybe he's not a pure devotee, you know. But when we get beyond those silly things, you know, we start to become a little bit controlled, then it becomes a little bit difficult to see who's actually pure, doesn't it? Like we see all the spiritual masters, you know, stick a pin in them, ting. It's sometimes like that. I like his done. I like the way he smiles. There's so many things, you know what I mean? But it's okay, you know, if we take shelter. But eventually we'll sort all that out. But that's that, you know, that's the position. It's difficult to see who is actually on that platform. So we're going to tell a story. And, well, it's from the Srimad Bhagavatam, actually. So Indra, in the 6th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, you know, he's a king of heaven. Now, if you're the king of heaven, it's easy to get puffed up, isn't it? You know what I mean? Everybody's bowing down, worshipping you. You know what I mean? Yak tail whisk and peacock fan. So, you know, Indra one day, he lost control and he started to think, yeah, you know, I deserve this. These people are so intelligent. And he was sat with his wife, Sachi Devi, and he became so intoxicated that, you know, his spiritual master walked in. And, you know, when the spiritual master walks in, you get down off your seat and you pay your obeisance, don't you? But he didn't even budge. He never even noticed it. And the spiritual master, ISKCON, was a little bit, he could understand by his experience that Indra's puffed up. And so he just looked at him and he walked out. And then Indra went walking, I thought, oh, he realised what he'd done. And so he went running after him, but it was too late. The ISKCON has gone. And so they were searching to apologise and they failed. And so Indra was like heartbroken. And so at that time, Shukracharya, he realised what happened. He said to the demons, you know, now's the chance to, you know, defeat the demigods. And he said, they've lost the benediction of the spiritual master, so they'll be less powerful. So the demons, they came and attacked the demigods, and they were giving him a real good hiding. And the demigods, you know, they ran away and they ran to Lord Brahma. And Lord Brahma, he said, he could see them coming and knew what was the matter. And he actually chastised Indra. He said, how could you actually, you know, treat a spiritual master like that? But anyway, he said, to actually sort it out. And so he said, what do we do now? You know, we can't find the spiritual master. The demons are giving it a hard time. We're the rulers of the universe. We have to do our service and look after the universe. And so he said, anyway, he says, you've lost your spiritual master. He's not on the scene. Maybe he'll come back at some point, you know. But he said you should go and take another spiritual master, Vishvarupa. Vishvarupa was the son of Twasta, and he was very, very pure. But he was younger than the demigods. And so, you know, Vishvarupa was very humble. He said, and he replied to the demigods when they asked him, because you've asked me, it's my duty to actually try and guide you. And so he said, you can only defeat the demons if you're protected. What we call protection in Upanishad, prophylactic. prophylactic? Use that in medicine?
Yeah.
In protection.
Yes.
And then, if you don't protect yourself, then you need antiseptic.
Prophylactic means protect in advance.
Yeah, if you don't take that, then you get caught and you get a cold or you get a cut, becomes infected, then you need antiseptic. So prophylactic. So he said, I'll teach you how to recite this mantra, brother, this fire yoga, and from that yoga, you'll get a coat of armour called Narayana Kavacha, which will protect you from the weapons of the demon. And so this took place, and the demigods started defeating the demons again. So this is the so around then, twice then when he was doing the sacrifice, Vishwasura and Vishvarupa, he had a relation. On his mother's side, there was his mother were related to the demons. So when you've got a relative in the family, you have some affection for them. So he was Swaha, Swaha. He was performing the yoga and giving some of the results to putting it to one side for the demons. And eventually, Indra understood what was happening. And he thought, well, the demons are going to actually beat us. So he immediately, he actually cut his head off. He cut Vishwasura's head off. He was so frightened. Oh, Indra's getting into real trouble now, isn't he? First of all, don't forget Indra, he's not an ordinary devotee. We hear about Indra and we think, he's a bit of a case, but no, he's not. Excuse me. But it sounds like that when you read Bhagavad. What's he doing now? He's actually much more pure than we are. We become temple president or sannyasi in Newcastle. He's the king of the whole heaven. He doesn't get that for nothing, And he has one or two material desires, that's all. So, Krishna works through his devotees. If it can happen to Indra, it can happen to us. And so, Twasta, the father of Vishvarupa, what would you think? He was also a great Brahmin. So he started to perform a sacrifice to kill Indra. He performed a sacrifice which would increase Indra's enemies. But when we do these different sacrifices, you could pronounce everything perfect. And so they had referee Brahmins that were the sacrifices. And they'll stop the sacrifice if the chief Brahmin mispronounces something. But at this sacrifice, somehow or other, nobody noticed. And so he pronounced a long A instead of a short A. Can you imagine? And you know what happened? He got the opposite result. Instead of increasing into the enemy, he produced a demon who would be Krishna's enemy, who would be Indra's enemy. And this demon was called Vritrasura. It was huge. Well, coming into Manchester with Ramai, looking, and I could just see the top of the football stand, And I remember 10, 15 years ago, you could see the whole stand, And I could see that everything's starting to grow. And so, Vritrasura, it was much bigger than that. It was huge. In fact, then he started to fight with Indra. And all the demigods, they were running away. And some of them fainted in fear. And they were just trampling the demigods. Sometimes, pop one in his mouth. They're devotees as well. It's not very good thing to do to devotees, is it? And so then Indra, he all ran to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Brahma told him, you better go to see Lord Vishnu. And so Lord Vishnu, it was Lord Vishnu who told him to take Vishnu as his spiritual master. First of all, they got the armour from Brahma's instruction. Then they went to Vishnu when they were being defeated by the demons, by Vichasura. No, before that, they got a coat of armour to protect them. And then, that was the first sacrifice, right? The second one, when they went to Lord Vishnu, he told them that they would have to, what is it now?
Dadichi.
Hey?
Yeah, you had to get the bones from the dignity, didn't they?
I've got a book and it's gone blank. Oh, that's right. He said you have to go to this great saint called Dadichi. You remember? Dadichi was. Anyway, they went to Dadichi and he was self-realised. He knew it wasn't the body. He wasn't trying. And he said he asked for his bones. So if you ask for somebody's bones, it means they've got to give up the body, or they become filleted, don't they? Put them on a plate. So he asked for his bones, and he said, I'm attached to my bones. And he was actually winding them up a little bit. He was just testing them to see whether, they could give a philosophical understanding why he should. And so they passed the test. Said this is for the benefit of society. Every sainted person should prepare to give everything, even his body, to help others. And he said, okay. And then he left his body. He was a yogi, he just merged all the elements. And there it was, just the body left. And so they used his bones to make a thunderbolt. And this thunderbolt was used by Indra to fight the demons. So when Vichasura came, Lord Vishnu said, this thunderbolt is actually, you'll be successful by using this thunderbolt. So you shouldn't be fearful. But when he was fighting Vichasura was giving him a really hard time. And then, so Indra, this is how we can tell who's actually a higher devotee. Indra, he started to think twice. He started to lose his faith that, the actual talisman had been given, this thunderbolt would actually kill Vichasura. But Vichasura, he was actually convinced, he wasn't actually, thinking in duality. He knew that he would be killed by this thunderbolt of Indra. And so he started encouraging him. He says, pick it up, start fighting. You've been given the benediction of the Lord, you'll not be unsuccessful. And so he preached to Indra. So it's by these activities, by selflessness in service we can serve the devotee. Because real selflessness, it's got no limit, has it? We're all selfish to some degree. So we can tell by the selflessness of a devotee. In due course of time, some people may be selfless for fame and adoration. Well, that's tested in due course of time. Yeah? So it takes time to see who's actually on that platform. And in this case, immediately we could see Indra, although an exalted devotee, Vichasura was much more exalted. And so eventually, to put a long story short, Indra was he was swallowed by Vichasura. First of all, Indra, his son he cut one arm off, so Vichasura used the other one. Then he cut the other one off, so he had no arms. So then he just opened his mouth and swallowed Indra. Nayarayana Kavacha armour on, it's actually saved him. Actually, in the purport it says that he defeated Indra. He didn't lose. That Indra would have been digested. But at that point, when he swallowed him, he gave up his body. And then, the digestive system stopped and Indra come out. That's how it's explained. It's also explained because he had the Narayana Kavacha armour on, he was protected. And then Indra actually came on, he cut him, it was his head off, he was already gone. So it took a year to sever his head with his thunderbolt. And now, how powerful he was. So this is just an indication by this story. It takes several chapters to tell this story. But in due course of time we start to realise who is actually a pure devotee. And we see it actually, I remember when I joined the movement, so many people have come, they've done so much service, really big service and credit due. But some devotees, they're just like back burner devotees, they're not very noticeable, just plodding away with service. They don't seem to do anything, wonderful, but they're still there. When you analyse what they're doing, you think, God, he must have a taste. You know what I mean? It's like when you go to the man, all he does is so simple, he never gives class, he just reads all day. Just cleans the toilets, does everything. And it's been a Brahmachari for the last 40 years. And when you talk to him, he said, how you going? He said, he'll say something like, I'm still in this material body, or something like that, I'm still serving Krishna. Not so philosophical. Anyway, everything's tested. Our Krishna consciousness is tested when?
At the time of death.
When we leave this body, yeah. So Vitasura showed that he was actually completely Krishna conscious. So we have to be a bit thoughtful. Material life means somebody who's flamboyant and does so many things. They're a star, right? People who achieve things. Wow. So we bring the same conception to devotional service. It may be like that. Some devotees may be so pure that they just like to, they're not affected by it, so Krishna just empowers them to do so much. For others, yes, they empower them because otherwise they may be down the road. They need that. They're still wanting some sukha, some pleasure for themselves. So, Krishna has to balance it. At some point, he can't keep giving it them. Otherwise, they won't become Krishna conscious. He gives it to a point. But at some point, he has to turn it off. You have to become a little bit more renounced. I'm taking things away, so now, take shelter of me. And if we can do that, we'll pass the test. And so Vitasura passed the test. Vitasura got eternal life, he went back to Godhead. And Indra, he came back to this material world to be the king of heaven. Okay. Any questions or comments? If not, we'll have some. I think there's a light refreshment, is it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You said at the beginning, are we performing Bhakti? And you were saying if we're kind of doing what we're supposed to be doing, then it is Bhakti. But it may not be like pure devotional service. So, it may be mixed, Karma Mishra Bhakti or Yoga Mishra Bhakti. So What is it? What is it that we have to do to go from, like sometimes it's said that, like the examples given of a mango, that it's a green mango, so it is a mango, but it's unripe, and that's a bit like the beginning stages. So how is it that we ripen our mango? How do we go from performing mixed devotional service to pure devotional service? What's the most important thing?
Association. If we get association of, we take shelter of those devotees who are more advanced than us, very quickly we can learn from them. But we have to be able to take that association, because when we take association, it's not that we're going to, we have to take the rough with the smooth. And, we can't always do that. We're not, I remember Dayānanda Swāmi, the one devotee who wanted to be with him all the time. I remember him once, they were together, and Dayānanda Swāmi said, even while I was telling him that, this is not appropriate, he said, I've got friends already. And he kept saying this, I've got friends. Because this devotee thought he were like becoming close to him, and that by doing that he'd advance. So it has to be done in the right spirit. And otherwise we'll get burnt, we'll commit an offence, Just thinking that we're on the same, that we can become the friends of the spiritual master is very dangerous. We're always in those, Prabhupada says that the spiritual master is always in the superior position, or the advanced devotee is always in the superior position. So what does he mean by that? It means that, we should always think like that. Even though if we see sometimes he seems to be doing things which are not what we consider to be very good, And, that may happen sometimes. But we must understand why. Understand? We said yesterday at meditation that we think everybody's like us. When the spiritual master does something, we've got a particular understanding of why that's done, because we would do it that way, but he's not necessarily the case. What were your questions?
Yeah, I was asking, how do we go basically from mixed devotional service to pure devotional service?
Gradually, it's like I say, in my case, it feels like that, sometimes you get some position and some bones, but there's still some attachment there. And then Krishna takes them away, and you've got to actually bite the bullet and see where am I attached to. You know what I mean? Usually it's because of your own stupidity, but it's there, And so therefore you have to do the needful, and sometimes we may not be so sharp intelligence to know, so we have to ask devotees. But if we're always endeavouring nicely with this full endeavour to try and serve Krishna through different situations, this is a good sign. But we do need association, definitely. And even if we haven't got association, if we're sincere, Krishna will give us the understanding. He says that in the Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah.
We keep reading the books, and it dawns on us that, wait a minute, it's humbling. We realise that devotees who we may not have thought as elevated as we are, just our false ego, that actually may be far more elevated. And so then we start to become more introspective. What do I need to do to get where he is? If he can do it, we may think this. If he can do it, I can do it. But that's okay if you do it. I remember one devotee, he joined the temple in Ireland, and they were out in the field, they were picking some some vegetable or something, and they were with this other devotee, put an IRA man, he joined the devotees. And we were another one, we thought a complete wally, you know. And this other one, he actually shaved up and joined the temple. And he said, if he can do it, I can do it. So he joined the temple. It's a very intricate thing, isn't it? Krishna's custom dealing with every one of us, because we're all like messed up in a different way. You know what I mean? And so he has to unravel it, and he knows how to do it. He's got perfect intelligence. But yet, I mean, I think I'm lacking in this. We have to learn to take advantage of senior devotees, you know, and inquire from them. And we can save ourselves lots of trouble.
Thank you.
Maharaj, in the beginning you were saying like when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was in Jagannath Puri, even the gods couldn't recognize that he liberated souls as a great devotee because of the ecstatic symptoms he was exhibiting. And you said we got so many sahajiyas as well, but it's better to be respectful to everyone. But we see the sahajiyas, all they want is respect, because that's why they are pretending as if they have got these ecstatic symptoms. So how do we deal with it?
Well, you know, in the beginning we won't be able to tell us that from a real devotee in the very beginning, but after a while we will, because it will just stick out like a sore thumb. You know what I mean? If you're in the association of devotees ongoing, but day in, day out, or week in, week out, and you see the way they're acting and the service they're doing, you see the serious devotee, and then somebody comes along, you know, acting like a sahaji, it'll be obvious. You see, if we don't know, it's better to just turn a blind eye and keep away. Let somebody else deal with it. If we don't know, don't call them and don't try to say that they're elevated. I'm not one devotee. We were told by one senior devotee, a Bhakti leader actually, that this devotee, they were on the guest line and they were like, sent to him symptoms of bhava, and he said to him, so this is what we're aiming for, you know. But then they found out a few weeks later they were on drugs. You know what I mean? And the Bhakti thought, why did he tell me that, you know? So even the Bhakti leader were actually bewildered. You know what I mean? So we have to be careful. But generally, you know, if somebody's acting out of character from the other devotees and exhibiting, you know, then best to keep a safe distance. Yeah? Even Prabhupada, he didn't do that. Sometimes